What's going on, all my late night aces? I hope that all of you guys are going to sleep, getting ready to go to sleep. Your girl is up working. Listen, Teddi Mellencamp, her dad, John Mellencamp, is already planning with her for her burial. And I have to say that on one hand, I can see where he's being very pragmatic and, very practical. On the other hand, my heart is just broken. And the fact that, John Mellencamp is so famous, I am sure that he has the resources, the money, the access necessary to properly bury his daughter, to the point where, in my mind, I would be thinking, you would want to make Teddi as comfortable as possible during her last days here on earth. It's so sad. I'm gonna get into this article, but when I read this, it really caught me by surprise. But everybody's relationship with their parents and their children is different. So different strokes for different folks. It says Teddi Mellencamp revealed that her dad, John Mellencamp, is already planning for her burial in their family mausoleum in Indiana as she battles stage 4 cancer. The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills alum recalled that the rocker calling her multiple times in a row to have the morbid discussion on her Tuesday's episode of her Two Teas in a Pod podcast. She says, finally, I answer, and I'm like, I'm in the bath. Let me live a little, she says. He goes, I just want to make sure that you're going to be in our group family mausoleum. Just real quick, why would he put that on her? You know, like of course, him being the patriarch of the family, you would know whether Teddi, your daughter, is going to be buried with your family or not. Wouldn't that fall on his responsibility, not her? And why wouldn't he want to alleviate that burden from her? You know what I mean? Just what I was thinking when I was reading it. So Teddi, who's 43, then wondered whether there would be space in the mausoleum for her three kids, Slate, who's 12, Cruz, who's 10, and Dove, who's 5. Okay, again, there's a presupposition there that they would want to be buried with their family. What if they wanted to be, have their start their own family and be buried with their spouse and their kids and in a different state or even possibly country, right? Maybe they don't want to be in Indiana. I don't know. Um, he's like, excuse me, he's like, well, there's going to be the top 5, and then we're going to have little areas around it, and then that's where everyone's going to get buried. The reality star explained. He goes, "You're doing your will right now, so you might as well put it in there." John, sir, it is morbid. I'm sorry. I'm trying I'm trying to find the words to express how just the headline alone was so jarring, because in your last days you really, especially, and I guess my thing is, one, you would want to make your child or your loved one as comfortable as possible. I can't imagine what it would be like to be battling, stage 4 cancer. And then the fact that he's blowing up her phone while she's in the bathtub, like that's annoying for anybody, even if you're the healthiest person on earth. You have to give people a break. You don't keep calling people back to back to back. But to have your body being ravaged by stage 4 cancer, and the fact that Teddi is, she's still working, she's still, putting together her will, she's still doing a podcast, she's still like, all that cannot be good for her. That's stressful. And in my mind, I'm thinking, sir, you have the means, like you have the money, you have the resources, you have the access. I'm sure that somebody, you can have a lawyer draw up the will, like not put that burden on your daughter. You could have, you know, people that are, the funeral director, or, your pastor, somebody that can step in to help you, guide you, navigate you through this. not put all this stress and unnecessary burden on your daughter, your child, who's slowly, passing. I mean, 43 is so young. And the fact that you are, again, assuming that her children are going to be wanting to be buried with the rest of the family in Indiana, you have no idea. You know, these children are, what is it, 12, 10, and 5. Lord willing, they will live a long and healthy life, but maybe they want to, travel and spread their wings, fly, start their own family, be buried with their own spouse and children. It's it's a little presumptuous to think that they would want to be, with the rest of the Mellencamps just because, Teddy wants to. So so the article goes on. It says Teddi ultimately agreed, telling co-host Tamara Judge that she would travel to Indiana to visit the burial site. She joked that the quote unquote "hot girls never die" would be engraved on her tombstone. This is so sad. Like, I understand that, it's responsible to plan for your passing, but she's only 43. It breaks my heart. The Bravo celebrity shares her 3 children with estranged husband Edwin Arove, something like that. The two split in October 2024 after nearly 14 years of marriage. And that makes me sad too, right? That she doesn't have her husband to help her navigate through, stage 4 cancer. Wow. Teddi was diagnosed with skin cancer in 2022. The doctors discovered that she had brain tumors in February. She was rushed into surgery to have 4 tumors removed. Oh my goodness, which doctors believed had been growing for at least 6 months. She says, "These are all a direct result of my melanoma," she shared via Instagram in March. Oh my goodness. Doctors have since found additional tumors in her brain and in her lungs. She says, "I'm fighting for my life, but also for my family's life and all the people I loved," Teddi told Us Weekly in an interview published last week. She added that cancer is definitely the hardest thing she ever had to face. My prayers go out to Teddi, Teddi Mellencamp and her children, and even her bonehead father. I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't, like, it would be one thing, honestly, if he were, out here struggling, a single father, um, just, living paycheck to paycheck like many people in America, or, even in the world, right? But John, you're a multimillionaire. If you have enough money to have a family, mausoleum, then you have the means, the resources where you can hire people to help and not put all that stress and burden on Teddi. So why are you calling her, blowing up her phone back to back? And she told you I'm in the bath, which again lets you know, just gives us a snippet and insight into her relationship with her father. Who picks up the phone when they're in the bathtub? Like, okay, I don't want to minimize, because I understand that she is sick with stage 4 and he's probably really worried. But sir, if she, she's coming out to Indiana, you could go over there, check, or, text and say, give me a call back, something. Um, or even, you guys have enough money, you can hire a nurse. Like, you can hire somebody to be with her and again help her navigate her way through this. I really hate the fact that America, like our culture, or maybe it's just Western cultures, um, and I'm gonna put on my cultural anthropologist hat for just a second, but I hate the fact that our culture is so individualistic. Like, other places, cultures like Eastern cultures, African cultures, they're so collectivist. You know what I mean? Like, I love the fact that Japanese people are, essentially one band, one sound, right? They're so family oriented. Africans, they're so family oriented, like multi-generational generations live together, and that's completely fine and normal. Here, it's like you're expected to go through life alone and, you know what I mean, make it on your own, pull yourself up by your bootstraps, self-made, et cetera, et cetera. And it's like there's no medal at the end for trudging your way through life by yourself. Like, it's not good for people to live alone, especially when they are really sick. And I'm thinking, like, you guys have all this money and resources. Why not use them to make life just a little bit easier for, Teddy and her children? And especially, if she has all these horrific tumors in her brain and in her lungs, I can't imagine what that would, be like and feel like. So you need to spend the money that you've earned, right? To make your life a little bit easier. Like, there's no reward for just unnecessary suffering. And the fact that he is putting all of this, stress and this pressure, planning her funeral um while she's still here, I don't know, it's morbid in my opinion. Like, it's just unnecessary. Like, why not wait till she, passes, Lord willing, peacefully, and then plan her funeral, and then, decide where she's going to be laid to rest. But um and again, she is doing her will, and I'm like, okay, on one hand that's responsible, but on the other hand, you know have a lawyer draw it up. Like, I hope she's not doing it all on her own. Again, just, it boggles my mind, if you have that much money, resources, that you wouldn't, and access, that you wouldn't use those to the best of your ability to make your life a little bit easier, especially the last, days of your life. um Not that I'm blaming Teddy, I'm just saying, like, I would hope that her father would have been a bit more compassionate and helpful. um and again, not assuming that her children would want to be buried with the rest of the family. Maybe they will, but again, maybe they'll want to branch out and start their own families, and, find their home elsewhere. But anyway, my prayers are with the Mellencamp family. I pray that, Teddy is not suffering in her last days here on earth, that she's not being stressed out with questions about, her passing and burial by her father. Hopefully that the family can step up, other family members can step up and help, plan these things after she passes. That, I feel like that's the last thing that she should be worried about. Like, I can imagine, you know that your daughter's sick, but you're worried about her will and her kids being buried with the rest of the family. And I mean, that's asinine to me. That's craziness. Um, the top five, like, I'm like, like, it's like it's some kind of like family hierarchy. Like, sir, they're human beings, you know what I mean? Like, we're living souls. I feel like sometimes people get so caught up in the everyday aspects of life that it's like you forget that, maybe Teddy is in pain. You know what I mean? Maybe she's stressed out. Again, she was in the bathtub talking with you about her own burial. That's mind blowing to me. Anyway, my heart and my prayers go out to her and her family. Um, I hope that her last days are a bit more peaceful than they have been. If she's, again, talking about all of this on a podcast, maybe, that's a healthy outlet, a coping mechanism for her. Um, and hopefully she can, rest from that as well, that she feel like she doesn't have to work so hard. Because again, you want your last, you hopefully, most of us anyway, right? We don't know when we're going to leave this earth, but we hope that we can have, peace in our last days. And that's what I pray for Teddy, peace, and for her father John, and her children as well. So let me know your thoughts. I mean, would you guys want to be planning your own, burial before you, you know before you leave? I wouldn't. I just, I'm not that pragmatic yet. Maybe I'm not as mature yet, but I feel like hopefully um, my loved ones can handle that after I pass. Of course, being having a will and doing all those things are very responsible. I'm not saying that she shouldn't have done that, but the details I wouldn't want to. I wouldn't need to know that. That's just me. I want to hear from you. Let me know your thoughts. Please be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and I will talk with you in the next one. Take care, Aces. Bye.